Now, those are the more up-tempo songs, but I have heard a couple songs that are on the dark side, the sadder side that you mentioned. One of them is Underneath, which I think is actually completely the opposite of these like fun. It's like
it's the most
probably the most
vulnerable. Yeah, I mean, there's not even really much of a beat. It's approached in a very a cappella kind of atmospheric way. It's a really heartbreaking song, and I think it's really about how sometimes, especially like given my experience, sometimes when you're not in a good place or you're hurting or you're going through something, you have to kind of put on a game face and fake it. Mm-hmm. And it's talking about underneath the cover, underneath the surface, what's really going on, and how even now it's still hard for me sometimes. Sometimes it's not a big picnic. It's difficult and it's challenging, and there are issues, and sometimes I'm dealing with self-esteem, and sometimes I'm dealing with acceptance, and sometimes I'm dealing with just being happy, So I think we all go through that.
There's a line in it. Everybody wants to talk about a freak. Nobody wants to dig that deep. Is that addressing sort of like what people think Adam Lambert is, what they think you're about?
I think people like to just write someone like me off and just be like, oh, he's a freak, and that's it. And it's like, but I'm a person, It's not that one-dimensional. No one is. No one is. And hopefully, like I said, the songs on the album are so personal and they're real to my reality. But what I'm hoping is that the themes in each song are universal enough where anybody listening can go, oh, yeah, me too. And I think that the album does that. I think Underneath does that. I think anybody that is going through something hard and has to cover it up will relate to that song.
And then there's Broken English, which is the other slower song I've heard.
Yeah, and Broken English is kind of one of those, it's kind of straddling the line between light and dark, because it's talking about communication and how sometimes language isn't the only way we communicate.
Is it inspired by your current relationship?
Maybe.
Do you speak any Finnish?
Very little.
Maybe.
It's a very difficult language.
I imagine, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but but again, it's like a universal idea that I think that people rely so heavily on words sometimes, and it's kind of talking about the hidden meanings of things and the communication that can occur outside of spoken word. Body language, eye contact, and how much beauty and magic there can be in that.
And am I mistaken? Let me look at my notes. Sam Sparrow co-wrote that.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's such a funny guy, too. We would have, even a song like that that's a little more serious, we're just laughing the whole time. And he's really funny. And
you guys work together. I have to ask, you guys work together on Shady, the Nile Rodgers song.
Shady is nuts.
When I heard you were working with Nile Rodgers, who, Madonna, Duran Duran, David Bowie, I went nuts.
And the interesting thing is he didn't produce the track.
But he plays on it.
He plays on it. And it was really funny how it came about. We wrote this song, and Lester Mendez is actually the producer on it. And we came up with this great funky song, and then we said, we need a guitar that's like that Nile Rodgers style. And Sam looks at me and goes, well, why don't we just tweet him and ask him to do it?
You guys didn't know him?
Sam had corresponded with him a little bit on Twitter. I hadn't ever met him, and
wow.
I said, okay. And so we tweeted him, and he agreed to it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, and the guitar part that he laid down on the song took it to a whole nother level.
And he seems to be quite a fan of yours.
He's so cool, so down to earth, so sweet, and such a legend,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea of the three of you together, working together, sounds like a recipe for awesomeness.
It's really fresh, and that song is we're talking about light and dark, and it's called Shady. It's a really fun song about being a little dark, about being a little bit nasty and a little bit wrong. And you know what? Everybody likes to feel a little bit wrong and a little bit nasty from time to time.
Sounds like you're having fun on this album.
It's fun, yeah.
So I'm going to run through some songs that I've heard about or read about, but have not heard with my own ears, sadly. But soon. I've heard Chokehold is one that's going to blow people's minds, and I've heard, excitingly, that it has a Depeche Mode vibe to it.
Yeah, it kind of has like a new wave type influence. I mean, and again, these are things that don't happen consciously. We just kind of create them, and then afterwards I kind of go, oh yeah, it kind of sounds like... there definitely is like Depeche Mode. There's a little bit of like vintage George Michael.
Nice.
Definitely like an early 90s kind of feel to it. Kind of like electronic rock something. And that song's about being in a relationship with somebody that is not good for you. Kind of how you keep going back for more even though it's like an emotionally masochistic relationship.
Again, people can relate to that, I'm sure.
And that's that. You'll know this because the fans have probably talked about it. There was one interview where I said something about S&M music, and I didn't mean like S&M music. I meant like emotional masochism,
Right.
where like you're going back for more pain emotionally, not
But people
actually
were
being tied
envisioning-
up. I'm not
yeah.
into that.
People were envisioning some video with like whips and chains.
Yeah,
and-
no, I'm not really into that.
You heard it here. Another one, obviously, we need to talk about is Outlaws of Love,
Yeah.
which I have heard a live version of.
Yeah.
You were mentioning earlier in this interview about going there with the topics about being gay that you maybe didn't do before, and is the song
It definitely like when I wrote the song, I was directly referring to the sadness that I felt in kind of taking in the adversity that the gay community faces on every level. Marriage, bullying, acceptance of all kinds, you know, our presence in the entertainment community, and how that's kind of still up and coming, politics, all of it. The cool thing about the song is that that's the perspective that I wrote it from, but we wrote it in kind of an ambiguous enough way where it can really mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, which I love. You know, I've said in a couple interviews, it reminded me of like something that could underscore like Romeo and Juliet or Twilight or Thelma and Louise, like kind of like a relationship that's like on the run. Bonnie and Clyde, you know, there's like a very like cinematic and kind of classic star-crossed lover relationship type thing about it. So
Very cool.
yeah, that's what I love about it. But I definitely wrote it about my community.
Very cool. Have you gotten any reactions? I know people haven't necessarily. People have seen live. It's out on YouTube, live version of it. Have you gotten any feedback from the gay community or in general about the lyrics?
It's definitely been talked about. You know, in some interviews I've done with gay media, and I think it's important because I think that there's been a lot of music and pop lately that's been like kind of uplifting, inspirational messages saying it's okay to be different, you can do it, which I think is really important. And I have a couple of those too. But this is a song that's like, it sucks sometimes, you know? Sometimes this sucks and makes me sad. And that's the reality of it. I think my last album was all about like escapism for the most part, and this album's more about reflecting the human condition.
Interesting.
Yeah, so sometimes it's sad.
Now, what other songs haven't I mentioned? I Want More Dirt. I've heard there's all sorts of great collaborations. I've heard Bruno Mars might be involved.
Maybe. We don't know where that song is right now.
Okay.
I don't know where it's standing. I hope so. There's some kind of like just great like I'll Sleep When I'm Dead party kind of songs. There's a song called Naked Love that's really, really good that's being worked on. That was by Benny Blanco and the writers that did Moves Like Jagger. So that whole
Really?
team. Again, like kind of going into kind of a disco place. Some good guitar in it. It's basically a song that's like I don't want all the frills and the fancy, smoke. I want the real thing, pure love. I just want you with no dressing up and no frills and no just the real deal. So it goes along with the theme of the album, which is strip it back, make it a real message,
Do you think this album's going to surprise people? Because it seems, you were talking about how people think maybe you're just a freak or you're one thing or this thing. Like, do you think people are going to be, do you think haters are going to be like, oh wow, there's something to all this,
I mean, that would be great. I mean, I don't really, I try not to pay too much attention to haters or people that are negative about it because they're not going to be into it anyway. So I think it's for the fans that want to know me better. I think it's for the fan that is open-minded and willing to kind of take a new journey with me. I mean, if I just repeated the exact same album that I just did, I think that'd be boring. That's not who I am. I'm somebody that's always wanting to find the next new thing. I'm always evolving. I'm always moving forward. That's how I get through life. So this album I think it reflects that. And I can't wait to put it on stage.
I can't wait for you to put it on stage.
And I think if you like Fever and Strut, I think the light side of the album you're really going to like because those songs will fit really well into that set. And then I think if you like songs like Broken Open, trying to think of other songs on the last album that kind of fit into the set.
Loaded Smile a bit.
Maybe.
No?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I think, but that's the thing is there's so many new colors and flavors on this album, so I hope people like it.
I like what I've heard, and your fans are going to like you. Real quick, you mentioned the fans and doing things for the fans. I mean, your fan base is They are cuckoo. I mean, I've never seen such a devoted fan base.
Yeah, I want to do a bunch of like high fashion straitjackets. Do like a line of them with my name on the back.
That would be amazing.
That's actually one of the lines in Cuckoo. It's talking about I've got to get out of this straitjacket, which is actually that's like an example of a line that's in a really fun party song that actually has a little bit of weight to it. Because there's something to be said about what a straight jacket is.
I didn't even think about that
did.
play on words. I'm sure, yeah, you're ahead of me there. So you're gonna get straight
I thought
jackets.
really hard about it.
So you're gonna have straight jackets with like the skin graft, like
Maybe,
metal studs on the
maybe.
shoulders. That'd be a
Kind
good
of
look.
over studs. And
Really?
spikes. Yeah, it's like okay.
I'm wearing studs today. I feel so out of fashion.
I'm just over it. I think
Well,
they
you're
look
always
great
on to
other people.
the next thing.
Yeah, it's just the next thing. Let's move into the next thing.
Your look has evolved a little bit, I have to say.
I'm really feeling the 90s thing right now. I'm feeling it's a little more industrial. I'm like into those kind of designers, more like, but not like goth industrial, like cliche, but more like future kind of structured architectural stuff. A little
Awesome.
more streamlined,
Will you be wearing
geometric.
some of those fashions in your yet to be released video
Of
coming out?
course.
Awesome,
Of
very
course,
cool.
yeah.
And my last question for you is it's a bit of a loaded one, but
A loaded question.
a loaded question with a loaded smile. Do you feel pressure with this album? I mean, sort of like a second album is a make or break album, and it's also for a different audience. With a first album, there were probably with you people who were like, oh, let's see what this guy from Idol is all about. Let's see what his first album's like. Now it's like you're really laying the groundwork for your career for the long term. Like,
yeah,
do you
I mean,
feel
there
pressure?
definitely is a little pressure, for sure. I mean, I have expectations on it to deliver certain type of satisfaction to the audience. And I think that because I was the executive producer of the album and because I wrote the majority of the tracks, I think that I did my best. You know, like I put my best foot forward. I took the time that I needed to do it. So I will be disappointed if it doesn't work, but I also will kind of walk away saying, well, I did my best. You know, and my hands weren't tied. You know, I did everything I could to be at the forefront of it and for it to be my thing. So this is a true representation of my art. So I think that because it's honest, I think that'll resonate. And because it's coming from me, it'll connect. Or at least that's what I'm hoping.
I think you're onto something.
I think so.
I'm very excited to hear more. I'm excited what I heard so far, and I'm excited to see you take it on the road as well.
I am too. I just can't wait to see everybody dancing in the audience.
I'll be in the
There's gonna be
audience.
some dance floor.
I will be in the
There's
audience
gonna
with
be
my
some
platform shoes
boogie
on.
down. Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited.
And my new
too.
band too is like the band setup is perfect. It's perfect. It's like better than it has ever been.
Really?
Yeah, like 10 times better than it was before.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to see you on the road.
They're
When
like-
is the?
they're
What are the
in
tour?
the pocket.
What are the tour plans? Real
I don't
quick.
know. I don't know. Got to see if people like the album first.
They're gonna like it. They're
I
gonna
hope
like
so,
it.
yeah.
Stop worrying.
I definitely want to put it on the road. That's like I'm a live artist. That's what I do. So I've taken a year to make an amazing studio album, and now I'm going to translate it to live.
Actually,
And that's that's one of the other things at the heart of all these songs was, will this work live? It was really important for me to have a song that would stand well on its own.
it's interesting because a lot of the songs are very electronic. So is it hard to translate that to?
No,
the-
I don't think it is. I think when you have the right band and the right musical director and the right team with you and the right time, it's possible, you know? It's
Very
really
cool.
possible.
And you are one of the few people who coming from American Idol that really actually has a very huge international touring fan base.
Yeah, I'm excited to bring it to them too. I think it'll be fun.
Have you noticed the audiences over there being any different?
It's a little different. It depends on where though. It's like place to place is different. No matter where we are, it's like a different vibe. And it was that way in the States too on the tour. There'd be like certain types of audience members in one city, and then the next city it would be kind of a different scene. So some cities were younger, some cities were older, some cities were more like there were more men, some cities there was mostly women. Yeah, it really depends on where we are.
Well, I've been told I have to wrap this up. I could talk to you all day, obviously, but I'm so glad I got a chance to talk to you about the album.
Likewise,
Congratulations! I can't wait for it to come out.
You're gonna like it.
I
It's
already
good.
do. I already
do.
do. All right, thanks so much.
You're welcome.